Just a reminder for what to expect on this new platform. It is really, truly a migration of the existing tool from the legacy platform onto a new, more modern platform. We really hope that you will realize a lot of user efficiencies through this new platform, but we have not changed the threat interview questions. We have not changed the risk algorithm. So how SHRIMP does what it does will stay the same, but the way you navigate through the tool will be slightly changed. And Daniel again and Tyler again will walk you through all of that. Just want to let you guys feel rest assured that all finalized plans in the SHRIMP platform have been are in the process of being migrated over onto the new platform. And I say migrated, but really I mean kind of copy and paste, because I want you guys to feel comfortable that we are saving all data and past finalized plans on the old platform through the end of next year, just so we can make sure that all of your data is safe and that nothing, gets lost in the shuffle. And then the other thing is all of your data from your most recent finalized plan will also get pulled over. So all the PDF and Word versions of kind of like your first few revisions will get pulled over, and then the data from your most recent finalized plan will get pulled over as well. Now, that's only true if you've updated your plan since 2015. If you, for some reason, updated your distribution integrity management plan through a different means since 2015, we won't pull that kind of old data over at this point. We'll assume that a lot of that has changed enough so that you would want to walk through the entire tool itself. And so if you want to go to the next slide, just to give you an update on where we are. You heard me say that we are in the process of copying over all of that user data and all of those legacy plans into the new platform, so kind of a copy and paste. Right now, if you were to log into SHRIMP, you'd still log into the legacy platform. Thank you for all the efforts many of you made to finalize your plans over the summer, kind of going into the early fall. That was because it's unfortunately not a flip of the switch where we get to just turn on the new platform with all of the data. It does take a lot of manipulation to make sure that everything is where it needs to be on the new platform. And the RCP team has been busy at work with that. Therefore, if you have updated your SHRIMP or distribution integrity management plan through SHRIMP since really the beginning of, or the end of August, we need to know, and if you plan to do it, we need to know, just so that we can make sure we go back and grab the most recent finalized data to bring it into the new plan. It's okay, we understand many of you are going through DIMP audits and inspections, and we want to make sure that you have the tools you need to do really well on that inspection, but we just need to know so that we can go and look for your update and pull that data over. Please email appsupport@apgasif.org. You see the email address there if you plan to do that between now and the end of the year, so that we can just keep kind of a separate list of those systems. Throughout the rest of the month, our users group will be doing some beta testing on the new platform, just to make sure we have all the kinks worked out and that it's ready for prime time after the first of the year. And we do hope to go live in December, but as many of you know, software updates always have little nooks and crannies that we need to work out. And so we're just trying to set expectations, and I really appreciate your patience. I hope that you're thrilled with what Daniel and Tyler are going to share with you today, and it'll be worth the wait. I really do think so. And so with that, I think I am going to pass it to Daniel and Tyler. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Erin. So, hi, everyone. This is Daniel Pate, and I'm going to take you through the new experience with SHRIMP 4.0. To start off, there's one new piece that comes before you get into SHRIMP 4.0, and that is an access request into the platform. We're trying to make this as simple and straightforward as possible and not make it as much of an annoyance as possible. And so all it's going to be is when you're on the APGA website, the SIF website, that link that you press will take you to this web page right here, as you can see. And all it asks for is your first name, last name, email address, and DOT number that you guys know. You'll just plug that in, hit the save button. You'll get a thank you screen that says, thank you for submitting your access request. You'll be receiving an email shortly with access to Shrimp itself. Right now, that process and testing is about 30 seconds. So once you submit it, as long as you are a paid member and a user of Shrimp, you should be right into it, within a minute. Now, if we jump over to the system, this is now what is called the new Shrimp 4.0 interface. When we're in here, it looks very similar to the access request we were just on. That's because it's all on the same platform. We're utilizing everything in the same platform, so the interface is common to everything, and then you're not guessing, am I here or there or the other place? You're always in Shrimp 4.0. And so when you come in here, when you get that access approved email, you'll have a link that takes you here to this homepage. Once you get here, you'll have the guidance and everything just like you had in Shrimp 3.0. We haven't really changed this much except for we tailored some of the buttons. So when we talk about what each button does, we've changed that terminology to meet the buttons that are here on this platform. But otherwise, just like Aaron said, the underlying structure, the risk algorithm and everything is going to be the same between 3 and 4. It's just the interface that's updating. So as we scroll down here, you'll see we have a button for new system, fresh assessment, and DIMP plans. In this system, we've separated out what is originally called just a plan for you guys, or a system, as you guys know in 3.0. We split out the system and the assessment. Some of the user groups have told us that, why do we have to put in the system every single time we do a new assessment? When especially those systems don't usually change all that often. And if they do, it's a simple change the number of service lines for a certain type of material or something like that. You can do that now on the fly anytime when you're doing your assessment. So if something updates midway through an assessment, go update your system. It will propagate through to the assessment automatically that's being done currently. So it should streamline and reduce the amount of duplication efforts that you guys have in the new system. But in here, you can create a new one by hitting this button if you guys added a new system to your asset pool. Otherwise, if you're just going to modify or update a current system, something that you've already put into Shrimp in the past, it'll show up here in this systems table. Right now, I only have one system. It's a test system for this demo in Virginia. But if I hit the manage button on this, it will take me to the system screen. And this is one thing you're already seeing a little bit of difference between 3.0 and the 4.0, is that I'm showing you everything, all the parts, all at the same time. There's no reason to have to hit the next button a bunch of times to get through all the questions and in a specific form. We could just answer them all at the same time. So in here, you'll pick your operator, you got your system name, you got your system description. If you're going to subdivide that system, you can do that with the system description, just like you did in 3.0. The state of operation, and then if you want to put in your address for the office at the system site, your headquarters and operator ID will be brought over to the new system already, so you don't have to worry about that. If we scroll down, just like with Shrimp 3.0, you have your general system description information broken up by material, mains, and services. We have your mains by size, services by size, if anything's a plastic pipe, system description by decade. All of this stuff should be familiar from 3.0. Nothing's changed there. And it's all your 7100 PHMSA annual report data. We are bringing over your system data into this, into Shrimp 4.0, so you don't have to replug all this data in. But if you have any updates, like I showed you, you could just hit the manage button on that service and then change this from one main to two mains, hit save, and you're done. And you're off to doing your assessments instead of having to type this in every single time. So if I scroll to the bottom, I hit save, we can come back to the home page. One thing I do want to mention here is if you ever hit a button and you get lost in the system, up in the upper left, you have your home button. And that home button is your safe haven. Whenever you click it, you will always be brought back to welcome to Shrimp 4.0 in the new system. Fresh assessment button here. That is for if, let's say you put in a new system or you just don't want to be hassled with any of the data that you've put in prior into a prior assessment. You can always start with a fresh assessment that just gets you started from scratch with the interview questions. Again, like I said, that assessment, when I click this fresh assessment button, you're going to be able to pick that system name. So if you have multiple systems that you handle in here for your operator, you can always click and make that assessment on any one of those systems that you want. So that's one of the nifty things in here. Now, if we go back here, your DIMP plan button, that's going to take you to a list of all the DIMP plans that you've ever made in the system and allow you to go through them by date and sorted by your operator, I mean, not your operator, system ID. So then that way you can see which ones you can grab your 2020 or 2019 anytime you want. And that's just a quick way of grabbing that manual in Word or PDF format. Now, if we go into an assessment, if you pick the specific assessment that you want, you will also have access to the DIMP plan there as well. But that DIMP plan will be specifically just for that assessment. If it's 2021, it'll be your 2021 DIMP. So if we come down to the bottom, you'll see you have your assessments list here. This is very similar to what you had in Shrimp 3.0. You have your system name, plan year, version, and then that status indicator letting you know if you're what stage you are in your assessment. But if we click here to manage this, you'll be brought to this page where you can see your system information, everything that was on that front page. You have your button bar up here that gets you to your risk rankings for this assessment, the required settings for this assessment. So those are those how often you want to reevaluate the assessment, what type of system it is, natural gas, and all that. And then you also have your create DIMP button. This allows you to, once you're done with the interview and the risk rankings, you'll be able to click that button and it will output a PDF and Word document DIMP for you to download and utilize. We bring in your headquarter information, your system's office address, and then a summary of your system here with your materials and your mains and services. Down at the bottom, this will be very familiar to you guys. This is what you want to do with this assessment. In the old system, you guys had what I like to call the 5 R's. You had review, resume, revise, reevaluate, reassess. We've dropped all that down to 2 buttons essentially. So we have a resume and a revise button. It's the same button, it just flips. Resume is when you first start the assessment, but you're not complete with it. Revise is after you've completed the assessment, pulled out a DIMP document, and now you have that feedback from an auditor that you need to put back into there. You can click the revise button to make those changes. And then we have the copy assessment button. This goes hand in hand with that fresh assessment button I was talking about at the beginning. And what this will do is it will copy all of your interview answer choices from, say, this assessment, whichever assessment that you want to go off on. So if this is your 2021 and you're going to do a 2022 assessment, you can click this button. It will copy your previous assessment's interview answer choices, allow you to go through and review and sign off that those are still accurate. If they're not, you can update them. And this will hopefully get you through your assessments a lot faster, so you don't have to spend a whole week on them. You can just spend the day and go through the interview process and the risk ranking and everything pretty quickly. Now, your risk ranking portion will be unique per assessment, so you will have to go through that every single time, but at least the interviews will be populated, and then you can either add or edit those as you see fit. So I'm going to jump into the resume here, and we're going to resume this assessment. So we jump into the assessment overview page, just like with Shrimp 3.0. Again, your button bar is up at the top. So if you ever want to jump to risk rankings, required settings, or create that DIMP, it'll all be up here at the top. And then instead of the vertical approach that you had in the old system, we're doing a tabular approach here. So each tab is each one of your interviews. And you can see here, we're going to go through an atmospheric corrosion interview because we don't have one yet. But with external corrosion, there might be some already here, there might not. But if you ever have to add an interview, you can always hit the add interview button anywhere in all these tabs, and it'll add the interview that you're looking at. So if you want another unprotected bare steel, you'll hit the add button right there. But we already have one for that, so we don't have to worry about it, especially since it's the entire system. You'll also see what the status of that interview is, and then you'll have an edit, review, and delete button. Review just allows you to view the contents of that interview. The edit button will allow you to actually change and modify what's in there. And then the delete button is red on purpose to let you know that if you click that, that interview disappears and you'll have to start from scratch. But yeah, all your interviews are here, just like in the last system, and you can run through those. So if we come back to the atmospheric corrosion, let's do this interview here. All the interviews feel and look exactly the same, just have the specific questions for that interview in them. So we can go through one and it gives you an idea for all of them. Here you'll have your top layer up here, your header that you had in the last program. Again, you can get back to the assessment overview with this button right here. So don't feel like you're ever lost in the system. This is another update of the system. The scores for this specific threat assessment are going to be right here live at the top of the page, and you can see how the risk score looks as you're filling out the interview itself. Down below that, we have your section information, and to streamline things, like in the last system, you had to go through half of an interview before you had the decision to subdivide your system up into bits and pieces. In this system, we're just going to allow you to choose if you want to do that straight ahead or just do the entire system. We're going to do the entire system today. So you would just type in entire system into the section name. When we click out of there, everything updates. So up here at the top, you can see this is your test assessment for the entire system. All that stuff updates in real time while we're using it. But if you wanted to section it out, you would put in your subsection name, save, add another interview for another subsection as well. So you just keep on adding interviews for each of the subsections. But since we're doing the entire system, we're just going to answer this once. And so we'll go to this first question here. Again, we're going to show you all the questions at once, but we're going to show them to you in a smart format, meaning depending on your answers to certain questions, it will more questions will appear for you to answer. So that way you're focused and you know exactly what you need to answer to finish this interview. And right now, if I hit no, sorry, I hit yes, but if I hit no here, you would be done. You put your data source in and you sign off saying that you accept the answer choices in here. But we're going to say yes. That's going to pop open the rest of the questions. And then as you can see here, whenever you have a threat question, or down here we have consequence questions, always to the right of that question, you're going to be able to see the score of that question. So right now, if I hit no, that's a 0 for this question. All questions have their own risk scores. But if I hit yes, you get a score of a 5. Now, if I scroll back up, you'll see also that the threat score total updates to show 5, your normalized probability updates, and then your risk score also updates to a 2 instead of, a 3 instead of a 1.7 that it was before. Also, if we jump through here, like if you say yes to this one, that means that you had leaks to repair, and then it gives you your leak format that you're used to in the old system. Right now, it's defaulted to the what is that, 10 years? In your system settings, you can adjust that. But if we go through here, I'm gonna just make this look like it's increasing. I know this is probably not the best for audits or anything, but the main point here is we could see that now the man-Kindle test is gonna automatically determine if you're increasing or decreasing, and then you're gonna be able to accept or disagree with the man-Kindle test. And if you accept, again, risk scores pop up. So I'm just gonna jump through here and answer these questions in a random format. You guys are very familiar with the questions in the other system. So not much different here. It's the same questions. So after we get done with all the questions, we scroll back up. And as you can see, now the consequence score is updated and everything is updated all the way to the left of the screen to 17.4 for this assessment. Now, if we scroll down, the other big update here is the fact that now you only have one data source for the entire interview. So when you were copying and pasting GIS for every single question, now you could just put GIS once and then save and you're done. And that's your data source that you use for the entire interview. But if you have more data sources, you can always just type them in however you want, commas, returns per line, one item per line, whatever you want. All this stuff will format as needed to display on your DIMP plan. But you can type those in, and then we're gonna complete this assessment saying that, yes, I agree to these questions. And then up in the top right, I can hit the save and close button. Save button is always green, if just so you know. So then now we come back to the assessment overview. You're presented with your assessment for the entire system. And again, if we ever needed to subdivide anything, we can always add more assessments to it. But as I said before, if you hit the edit button, it takes you back into that assessment and you can change whatever you want. And then, excuse me, and then you can hit save and it takes you right back here. Just like with all the other interviews in this line. So now if we jump over to risk rankings, we can take a look at what this is going to look like in the new system. I brought over the guidance from 3.0, so it's right there at the top. And I adjusted it a bit to make it work with the new format. So in here, it's a little bit different than what you guys are used to before, but you have all your interviews on the left side. You have your rank. This is the overall rank determined by either SHRIMP or the user overriding it. It'll come up here. User rank is the second one. This is where you can change that rank that the SHRIMP gives you. And then the SHRIMP rank is automatically determined by the system in the background in a live format. And so you'll notice if you do one interview, jump over here and check out the risk ranking, you'll see that interview move on the risk ranking chart. And if you go back and do another interview, come back here, you'll see some more movement as well. So this updates as you're going through your interviews in live real time. But you'll see all the same risk data that you had before for the specific interview. So I'm going to pull open the atmospheric corrosion interview because that's the one that we were looking at before. And so when we pull this open, this is more like what you're used to seeing on the main page of the risk ranking for SHRIMP 3.0. We just have an extra page for that. Again, at the top, you have your navigation buttons if you want to get back to the assessment, or if you want to go back to the risk ranking chart that we were just at. We're giving you the risk. Can everybody hear me still?
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. My headset just turned off randomly.
Yes.
Okay, so back to this, we have the risk scores up at the top. Your risk rankings are here. You have your overall ranking, and then, just like I said before, we can adjust the ranking yourself as a user. So let's say if I want to say atmospheric corrosion is actually a 1, not a 2, that updates the overall ranking. and then it presents you with an explanation box to tell me why you think it's a 1 instead of a 2. I'm going to take that off for now because I don't want to be required to type that in. Down below, you have your no additional actions required. If you click this, just like in Shrimp 3.0, it's going to just negate everything and ask you why you don't think any additional actions are required for this risk. But if you need to plug in your additional actions or your performance measures, you just scroll down and we have the checkboxes just like in Shrimp 3.0 with the same additional actions. But now when you click the checkboxes over to the right, you'll see additional fields pop up if needed. In this case here, you're going to accelerate your leak surveys. So you can come in here and select how often you're going to do those leak surveys going forward. And then you can also add additional operator actions. You have performance measures at the bottom, and again, additional performance measures for the operator. And if we click on these, when you want to add an action, it's really simple. What's the name of that action? And then you can give it a description of what that action or what it entails to do that action. And then you can hit save. So I'm going to just put in a test here, hit save. Something's required in the background, so we're going to cancel that. But basically, you're going to put in the name and the description, hit save, and it's going to save it, and it's going to pop up right there. And the same with the performance measures. You'll be able to fill that one in right down there. Now, let's see. I think I've taken care of pretty much everything.